Tucked away in the Worcestershire countryside, Harvington Hall stands about a mile northwest of Chaddesley Corbett, southeast of Kidderminster. Surrounded by fields and approached across a wide moat, the hall appears timeless and secluded today, yet the land on which it stands has a story that stretches far beyond its Elizabethan walls. Recent research suggests that Harvington may occupy a site of far greater antiquity than once believed. Bronze Age finds in the surrounding area, alongside modern LiDAR surveys, reveal a near-perfect circular feature enclosing the hall and its moat. This raises the intriguing possibility that the site held ritual or symbolic importance long before any medieval structure was raised there, lending the landscape a sense of deep, layered history. By the late 13th century, the site was dramatically reshaped. Around 1270, stone was quarried to create the Great Moat, forming an artificial island at its centre. Upon this island stood a medieval timber-framed hall, likely arranged in an H-shaped plan, typical of high-status buildings of the period. Although centuries of rebuilding followed, part of this medieval structure still survives today, sealed within the central block of the present hall and hidden behind later brickwork, a buried architectural ghost preserved at its heart. In the 14th century, Harvington was the home of Adam de Harvington, Chancellor of the Exchequer, who lived and almost certainly died there in March 1344. After his death, the estate passed into the hands of the Earls of Warwick, linking the hall to some of the most powerful families of medieval England. This connection endured until 1529, when the property was sold to Sir John Pakington, a wealthy and well-connected lawyer. His influence at court was considerable, reflected in the unusual privilege granted to him by Henry VIII, permission to wear his hat in the king's presence. The most defining transformation of Harvington came in 1578, when Sir John's great-nephew, Humphrey Pakington, inherited the estate. Humphrey remodelled the medieval hall into a grand Elizabethan manor, creating the building that largely survives today. By 1595, it was proudly described as Humphrey's Mansion, House of Harvington, an indication of both its scale and its importance. Even so, what remains today is only half of the original structure. Two substantial wings were demolished around 1700, for reasons now lost to history. Humphrey's religious beliefs would shape Harvington's legacy as much as its architecture. A committed Catholic in Protestant England, he was a recusant, refusing to attend Church of England services. This defiance carried severe financial penalties, and after 1585, far greater risks. From that year onward, it became illegal for Catholic priests to enter England at all, forcing recusant households to choose between faith and survival. Harvington chose both. The hall was adapted into a place of concealment and resistance, fitted with secret spaces designed to hide priests from government search parties. These architectural deceptions turned the hall into a clandestine refuge during some of the most dangerous years of religious persecution, embedding fear, courage, and quiet defiance into its walls. After Humphrey's death in 1631, Harvington passed through generations who had less attachment to the property. By the late 17th century, it had lost both its former prominence and much of its structure. Over time, neglect took hold. Furnishings were stripped away, rooms left bare, and even architectural features removed for reuse elsewhere. Harvington's survival was far from guaranteed. Its salvation came in 1923, when Mrs. Ellen Ryan Ferris purchased the decaying hall and gifted it to the Archdiocese of Birmingham. Restoration followed, guided by a recognition of the building's historical and spiritual importance. Today, protected as a Grade 1 listed building, Harvington Hall stands as a rare and powerful witness to England's religious conflict. A place where ancient ground, medieval ambition, and Elizabethan defiance converge beneath one enduring roof. If you're enjoying my content and want to help me make even better episodes, you can now support me on Buy Me a Coffee. Every bit helps to upgrade my gear, spend more time researching, and keep bringing the stories you love. Just head over to buymeacoffee.com/ghost tales. It's quick, easy, and really makes a difference. I've also put a link in the description. Thanks for keeping this going. Harvington Hall does not present itself as a place of obvious hauntings. Unlike some of England's most celebrated ghost locations, it has no universally acknowledged resident spectre, whose story dominates folklore. The custodians of the hall itself maintain that the house is not haunted, or at least, if it is, no one is admitting to it. Yet to stand within its walls or walk its surrounding grounds is to sense that this is a place where history lies close to the surface and where memories may linger long after lives have ended. The hall's reputation rests largely on its secrecy. For decades, it served as a hidden sanctuary for Catholic priests at a time when discovery meant torture or execution. 7 priest hides, some of the most sophisticated ever constructed, were built into its fabric. Priests sometimes remained concealed for days, even weeks, in dark, airless spaces, while search parties tore the house apart above them. It is hardly surprising that visitors and local storytellers have long wondered whether fear, desperation, and prayer may have left an imprint behind. Despite this atmosphere, there are remarkably a few long-established ghost stories attached to the interior of the building itself. Compared to places such as Pluckley in Kent or Sawston Hall in Cambridgeshire, Harvington lacks famous named spirits with detailed, centuries-old traditions. Modern references to hauntings tend to appear on social media and visitor anecdotes rather than in older folklore records. These accounts often describe an intangible presence, sudden chills, an overwhelming stillness, or a sense of being watched, rather than clear apparitions. It is the setting of Harvington Hall that lends much of its power. In winter, the building rises dark and imposing against storm-laden skies, its tall chimneys and many windows appearing watchful and severe. In summer, the same red brick walls bask calmly beside the reed-fringed moat, reflecting sunlight and pastoral tranquility. Inside, the original Elizabethan wall paintings and preserved interiors reinforce the sense that time has slowed, or perhaps never fully moved on at all. Local folklore, however, does attach far older and darker legends to the land itself. Writing in 1992, the folklorist Roy Palmer recorded a tradition from the Chaddesley Corbett area, describing a spectral huntsman accompanied by a pack of phantom hounds. The figure is identified as Sir Peter Corbett, a medieval nobleman said to have lived on the site around the year 1300. Granted permission to hunt royal forests to control wolves, Sir Peter was reputed to have kept his hounds in a stone-lined pit known locally as the Kennels, which can still be found in the grounds. Legend claims that beneath Harvington lay a tunnel passing under the moat, linking the hall to the kennels. In this tunnel, Sir Peter's daughter was said to meet her lover in secret. When the lovers were discovered, Sir Peter allegedly unleashed his hounds upon the young man, whose remains were found the next morning, scattered and partially devoured. Driven mad by grief, the daughter drowned herself in the moat. Sir Peter, struck by remorse, hanged his hounds and cast them into the nearby pond. still known as Gallows Pool. Yet even this act of penance could not free him from guilt, and after death he was doomed to ride eternally with his spectral pack, a local variation of the Wild Hunt, a motif found throughout British and European folklore. More recent legend shifts focus away from medieval cruelty and towards superstition and fear of witchcraft. The grounds of Harvington Hall are said to be haunted by Mistress Hicks, a woman accused in the early 18th century of malicious acts, ranging from destroying crops through unnatural rain to inducing violent illness. Convicted of witchcraft, she was hanged at the crossroads near the hall, a location believed to trap restless spirits by confusing them with intersecting paths. The belief failed, according to local tradition, and Mistress Hicks is said to roam the grounds still, seen as a solitary female figure drifting through mist or shadow, unable to leave the place where her life ended. While the hall itself lacks widely documented ghosts, a number of modern encounters suggest fleeting and unexplained phenomena. In the early 1990s, historical reenactors sleeping within the building reported a shadow passing through a locked door's keyhole. In another case, a group of schoolgirls claimed to see an elderly woman within the hall, while a teenage boy on a school trip described seeing a white figure staring from the North Tower, a room that was locked and inaccessible at the time. Taken together, these accounts do not paint Harvington Hall as overtly haunted, but neither do they leave it entirely untouched by the supernatural. Instead, Harvington exists as a liminal space, a place shaped by secrecy, fear, devotion, and injustice. Whether ghosts truly walk its rooms and grounds remains uncertain, but it is difficult to deny that the hall carries a presence born of centuries of hidden lives, unspeakable risks, and buried stories waiting to be uncovered.